The Black Dahlia murder. It was a dark and stormy night in Los Angeles, California, and Detective Jack Hargrave was feeling uneasy. He had been called to a crime scene in a deserted lot on the outskirts of town, and as he pulled up, he could see the flashing lights of the police cruisers reflecting off the rain-slicked pavement. Jack stepped out of his car and made his way over to the cluster of uniformed officers, trying to keep his coat over his head to shield himself from the rain. As he approached, one of the officers stepped forward to meet him. "Detective Hargrave," the officer said, "we've got a doozy of a case for you tonight." Jack sighed. He was getting too old for this kind of thing. "What have we got?" he asked, already bracing himself for the worst. The officer led him to a small clearing in the lot, where a group of officers were huddled around a figure lying on the ground. Jack approached, feeling a sense of unease in the pit of his stomach. As he got closer, he could see that the figure was a young woman, her body crumpled and broken. "What happened to her?" Jack asked, his voice low. "Looks like she was murdered," the officer replied. "Her body was cut in half and left here." Jack knelt down next to the body, studying the wounds carefully. He had seen a lot of violence in his time on the force, but this was different. This was brutal and cruel, the work of a madman. As he stood up, he could feel the rain starting to soak through his coat, and he pulled out his notebook to take a few notes. He needed to find out who did this, and he needed to find out fast. Over the next few days, Jack worked tirelessly on the case, following leads and interviewing witnesses. He was determined to bring the killer to justice, but the more he learned, the more he realized that this was going to be a difficult case. There were no clear suspects, no motive, and no witnesses. It seemed like the killer had covered his tracks well. As the weeks passed, Jack began to feel like he was hitting a dead end. He was exhausted and discouraged, and he was starting to think that he might never solve the case. But then, one day, he got a call from an informant. The informant told him that he had information about the Black Dahlia killer, information that could lead to an arrest. Jack met with the informant in a seedy bar on the outskirts of town, and as he listened to the man's story, he felt a sense of excitement growing inside him. This could be the break he needed to solve the case. The informant told him that the killer was a man named Carl, a strange and reclusive individual who lived on the outskirts of town. According to the informant, Carl was obsessed with the Black Dahlia case, and he had been seen near the crime scene on the night of the murder. Jack thanked the informant for his help and made his way to Carl's home. As he approached, he could see that the house was dark and quiet, and he wondered if he was making a mistake. But he had come this far, and he wasn't going to turn back now. He stepped up to the door and knocked. A few moments later, the door creaked open, and Carl appeared.